everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Diana Paquet. I'm the host of the Diana Show podcast. I am a mom of five, a life coach, and I've made a career out of coaching women behind the chair. I've owned hair salons for, I think, 35 years. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about a situation that I had come up with me that brought me into some realization about some of the ways that I sometimes forget how good life is and how I sometimes put off joy. And I wanted to talk to you about that today. So at the end of the school year, every single year, I always do this thing where I go through all of the paperwork. And that's mostly because little kids will bring home wads and wads of art and crafts and things they've written. And there's so many cool, cute things, but you can't keep everything, right? So I'll usually go through and cull out a lot of it. And I was in the process of doing that. I went through and culled out like what we call our special box at home, which is like where I put all the cards throughout the year and just all that kind of like emotional, sentimental stuff that's hard to recycle. So as I'm going through that, I was like, man, I have got some really solid friendships. Like some of these things that my women friends had written in these cards were like really heartfelt. And I think in the moment when it's your birthday and you're opening up 5 or 6 different cards and you read them, it doesn't hit as hard as it does when you're sitting by yourself and it's kind of a lonely June day and you're kind of doing those mundane tasks or whatever. And I was just realizing like, wow, I have a lot to be grateful for. So as I'm plucking through everything, I found this binder that I had made with all of these projects and goals. I start going through it and I'm like, oh my gosh, we got the flooring done. We had been talking about redoing this fireplace. There were all these things that we had actually gotten done. And it was this amazing feeling of looking at this binder that was from probably 4 or 5 years ago and realizing like all of those things I had been dreaming about, been praying about, been hoping that they were going to happen, been trying to find the money for, trying to find the time for, actually had come to fruition. I sit around and journal and write and think about what the next 5 years will be like, but I don't often go back and ponder what the last 5 years were like and how far I've come. Yesterday, I was at the beach with my 8-year-old and I'm watching her out there frolic and run back and show me a seashell. And I was thinking about, I grew up in a little town in the Central Valley. And while my whole entire family is still there and it's really lovely to go back and visit, what I really always wanted to do, where I really felt most alive and aligned, was when I would go on day trips and go to the beach. And so I didn't care what beach it was. I had on my class ring, a little beach scene with a couple holding hands. And it was always my dream to move to the beach. And I live here now. And so just taking a moment and being like, this is literally, I'm living the answer to a prayer right now. I'm standing in a moment that I dreamed of so many years ago. And of course, it took work and tenaciousness and an amazing amount of planning and intentionality. But the bottom line is I'm here and I did it and I made it happen. As important as it is to stretch and reach for those goals, it's equally important to stop and appreciate you did this. Here you are. This is happening. I am thankful. I am grateful. So for you, think about those goals that 5 years ago felt so out of reach and stop and take a moment and think about how much you do have to be grateful for and how much work and effort you've put into to get where you are. Think about if your 5 years ago self could see you now, what would she say? I mean, would she be like, man, I am so appreciative. I'm so grateful. I'm so amazed if she could have seen into the future of what you would become from 5 years ago. So if you stop and think about why we do this to ourselves, there's this cultural conditioning through social media, through the things that we see when we were little girls in magazines, to always have that better thing, that better body, that better house. It's amazing how much pressure there is to have your home a certain way. I see that we are made to feel only as good as our latest accomplishment. But the truth is, we are worthy. We are good. It's important to remember there's a difference between ambition and really wanting to achieve those goals and then that addiction to achievement. And it takes a balance. Of course, you don't want to stop looking to achieve and wanting to move forward, but at the same time, it is so important to be able to look back and appreciate who you've become and who you're becoming and who you will be in 5 years from now. The other really ugly thing is comparison. Comparison is such a thief of our joy when we look at someone else and think that what they have is better than us. The first thing that I will say about that is that it's so silly to compare because you never know what's going on behind the scenes of someone else's house. I can tell you in my home, raising 5 children, there's so many really, really hard things that I've never been able to share on social media because it's not my story to tell. So if someone looks and thinks that things are any easier in this house or any further along in this house than they are in another house, it's just not true. So it's very hard to compare the two, and it's a really big waste of time. And I think the more that we compare ourselves to other people, the more we shift our highlight reel of what's so great in our life to what her highlight reel is. For instance, take the example of me on the beach yesterday with Lincoln. If I wasn't looking at Lincoln and just looking at the seascape and just like looking at the sun coming down in the sky and like taking that in and being all about what I've got, it would have been so easy for me to look over to the two hot girls with the tight bods next to me and think about what they've got, because I don't have that. But it's more important for me to keep my focus on what I've got, which is amazing as well. I've always talked about how I feel like jealousy is a healthy thing to feel. I think it's a really good guide into what you might be seeing that you really want. Or maybe when you are not interested in what that person's doing at all, that's a really good guide that you don't want to go down that road. I think that there's a healthy amount of jealousy. I definitely feel jealousy in comparison, but I always look inward and ask myself why. Why there's a woman at swim meets that has a newborn in a carrier. I don't know if the word is jealousy, but I'm always like, oh, I would love to hold that baby, but I don't want a newborn. I'm way beyond that. I am enjoying the fact that my 8-year-old can help me carry the chair and help me carry the boogie board to the beach, and we can just go down there for an hour together. I'm way beyond that, but I still appreciate it. I still remember how great that was. I just don't long for it anymore. However, there are other things that I see that people are doing that I'm like, oh my gosh, she's totally doing that thing. Here's that feeling again of how awesome that looks. How awesome that looks to have that kind of business. I think I want to explore that. I might want to try that out. I think I might want to go down that road. And so I think it's healthy to have a little bit of comparison or jealousy. But when it gets to the point where you are letting it steal the joy of what you actually have going on in your life, it's time to reevaluate. Gratitude can be such a great grounding practice. We often think of gratitude as something that's like soft, but really gratitude is such a powerful way to ground yourself when you're feeling a certain way. Sometimes the world will make you feel like you have to keep racing, you have to keep going, you have to keep doing. But if you get into gratitude for what you've got, it's such a great way to slow down. I don't have to do that. I don't have to be involved in that. I can make a pot of chili and stay home and be just as happy. Think about if you look back on a list of old goals and you can check them off and you realize I didn't even enjoy it as I was doing it. That's a sign that you need to recalibrate. You need to start working on a gratitude practice. You need to start thinking every single morning, looking in the mirror. But and you can go on Pinterest. I'm not going to list it off, but there's a million different ways that you can get into a gratitude practice. Whether that's putting something in your phone, whether it's writing it down in a journal every day, whether it's looking in the mirror and saying, I'm so grateful for my vision, which I'm very grateful for right now. I'm so grateful for this day that I have off to do what I really love to do. I'm so grateful for this time at the beach. Whatever it is, find a way to bring more gratitude, because we do have this thing in our brains called the reticular activating system. And I always smile when I say it because I'm like, I'm saying something so sciencey, but it is a system in your brain that will filter out everything that it doesn't think you need. So once you tell your brain, hey, I really need to see more things that make me feel grateful, and remember what I need to be grateful for, your brain is going to start seeing it all the time. It's kind of like when you are in the market for a new SUV and you're like, I really want an SUV. I'm thinking about this one color, this one model, this one maker. And all of a sudden you go out on the highway and you see that SUV all the time. You're like, there it is again. There it is. There it is again. Your reticular activating system is what's picking that out. So once you tell your brain, and you do have control over your brain, once you tell your brain, hey, I'm ready to start seeing things that I'm more grateful for, you're going to see more of that in your life. And if you see more things that you're grateful for in your life, don't you think that that's going to feel better? Don't you think that that's going to elevate your day, your weeks, your months? So think about that. Really put some time and emphasis into how can I quickly and easily find 3 things a day that I'm super grateful for, and see if it doesn't change things for you. Think about all these things that you've done, these accomplishments over the last 5 years, and how it's shaped you and how it's helped you grow your confidence, how it's made you more capable of doing the things that you're doing today, and how you're showing up and serving in the world. Part of it is the achievements and the things that you've actually gotten done, the floor that's gotten done, or the course that you took, that you understand something more that now that you didn't before, or something that you can speak to now, the confidence that you have because of that. Some of it is the actual achievement. But the other part of it is just knowing that you're making yourself a more well-rounded person that can stand up and show up the way that she wants to, confidently. The version of you that used to doubt herself created this version who is now an inspiration to others, who now other people look at and think, oh, I want to do that. Or, oh, how did she do that? Oh, I want to take her to lunch and pick her brain about that. It's the kind of growth that you can't show on a spreadsheet, but it's the kind of growth that you know that you have and that you have done over the last 5 years, whatever it is that you've gone through, whether you've gotten teenagers off to college, whether you have helped level up a company or whether you have just started a dance practice with a girlfriend that you've done over the last 5 years. You have done something over the last 5 years to be proud of. So slow down and sit down and really take the time to soak that in. Does that mean you need to start going through your old journals and looking at what you've actually done? Does that mean that you have a gratitude practice on your phone that you can go ahead and look back on? Does that mean that you look back over the last 5 years on your social media and see what's actually happened and what's actually been done? Sometimes I feel like I'll get into these places where I'm like, oh, I wish we were more like this. I wish we were a family that vacation more. But then when I look back over the last 5 years, we've been able to take a lot of vacations. We've done a lot of fun things together. It's important to recognize that and remember that. I think when we start looking at things like we're not behind, we're blooming, it's never too late. You can do whatever you want. You're not lazy. You're kind of a layered person. You're figuring it out. Look at yourself in that way and think about, if I start looking at myself in that way, who were you 5 years ago and who will you be in 5 years? And I think it's really important to stop, be grateful for the moment, be grateful for where you are in this moment, not let the future rob you too much of what you're doing today. And of course, it's important to be excited about what's going to be going on in the next 5 years. We want to be looking forward. We want to be making decisions today. We want to fuel ourselves for the girl that we're going to be in 5 years by going to the gym today. We're making choices today that will affect us in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. But at the same time, how about being grateful for today, this moment, what you accomplished, what you've done over the last 5 years, who you are, how you show up today. Think about that. And I know for me, it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to get caught up. So easy to let my mind wander or go to a negative place. But there is something so powerful about looking at what you're doing right now and being grateful for who you are today. All right. Have a good week and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.